Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on KAJ, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Don Fisher. Ballots are due tomorrow for voters in the Summers Lakeside area who will decide on whether or not to renovate and expand the area's middle school through a multi-million-dollar bond. 4,500 ballots were mailed, but fewer than 1,900 have been returned, leaving more than half those ballots still out there. MTN's Nicole Miller has more.
With just over a day left, only about 40% of voters in the Summers Lakeside School District have returned their ballots.
I'm pretty confident that people will step up and provide what our students need.
Voters are being asked to approve a $15.8 million school bond to renovate and expand parts of the school that date as far back as 1953.
The general systems of heating and cooling, electrical systems, plumbing are suspect in a building that's this aged.
The goal is to build a safe, modern learning space that meets 21st century needs, as well as address overcrowding. In its current condition, the cafeteria can hold about 90 students, so each grade has to come and have lunch separately. If the new bond passes, the new cafeteria would include enough room that the students could all eat lunch together, as well as space for community get-togethers.
The design that we have looked at in our proposal has large areas for community use. I mean, the new gymnasium would be available for community use. The commons area, which would be used as a cafeteria, could also be a community meeting space. There's actually a classroom next to the gym that could be dedicated for community meetings as well.
The total cost of the proposed renovations and additions translates to about $160 a year on a $200,000 house. Reporting in Summers, Nicole Miller, MTN News.
And ballots are due in the district clerk's office at the Summers Middle School by 8 p.m. tomorrow night. And we'll have the results of that vote on our 10 p.m. newscast. And Flathead County is near the top when it comes to bringing in tourism dollars to the state. This according to a new University of Montana study. MTN's Jack Ginsburg shows us how these figures boost the state's economy and provide great tourism destinations for travelers.
The Montana Non-Residential Spending Report shows that 12 million tourists spent just over $3 billion in Montana in 2016. Flathead County came in second among all counties with $506 million. The report shows that the biggest attraction to tourists in northwest Montana is Glacier National Park. Even with the fires that filled the park's valleys with smoke in September, Glacier is still on pace to break its annual visitation record for the 4th year in a row.
We had a really big year at Glacier. Of course, you know, there was those fires that did start and they impacted visitation in September. We saw over 3 million people thus far. Of course, you know, it's still 2017, so we'll see what those numbers look like at the end of the year.
A vast majority of the people who are visiting northwest Montana are coming in the summer months here to Glacier National Park to catch one of these many iconic views like you see here behind me. However, either on their way in or out of the park, they're making a big impact on the local economy across the entire Flathead Valley.
From restaurants and bars to lodging companies and retail outfitters, many businesses across the valley have seen a correlation between their customers and visitors at Glacier National Park.
There's just more and more visitors every year, and there's no signs that it's going to even slow down. Just people want access to the lake. If they come here for Glacier and they find out, oh wow, you have a lake here too and it's humongous. A lot of them don't even know it's here, and then they come here and they're like, oh, 2 for 1.
The Johnsons have owned and operated a kayak rental company in the Flathead Valley for 5 years. This season they decided to expand in the wake of the high volume of tourists coming into the valley the last few years. They have already seen a significant growth in their company and don't see the flow of tourism stopping anytime soon.
We thought we had a lot of traffic last August on our website. We had 40,000 hits on our website, but that's changed exponentially for 2017. In July alone, we had 101,421 hits on our website.
It just so happens that same month was when Glacier National Park saw their record-breaking month of over 1 million people. In the Flathead Valley, Jack Ginsburg, MTN News.
And Gallatin County came in first among Montana counties with about $676 million spent. And switching over to weather, a beautiful fall day for northwestern Montana, but will it hold up? For more on that, let's take it over to Russ Thomas for his first forecast. Russ?
Thanks, Don. Yeah, and the good news is not only was it nice today, it is going to get even better. Not just hold up, but get better out there for your Tuesday. All of western Montana going to see nothing but blue sky, sunshine. St. Joseph Medical Center, I came in Polson. You've got that partly cloudy sky, so really nice today. One difference from tomorrow from today is going to be that it's going to be a little warmer as well. So you get more sunshine, you get warmer conditions. Quick look at one of our viewer photos. This shot taken actually in the Missoula Valley, and this is a shot of a herd of elk looking right here. Very nice in that sunshine. We'll have your complete forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Russ. In Ravalli County today, opening arguments began in the trial of a former Florence doctor accused of 22 felony charges, including the deaths of 2 patients. Prosecutors argued that Dr. Chris Christensen prescribed drugs to patients without much discretion. But as MTN's Augusta McDonald shows us, his defense says that it was a doctor's compassion that got him into trouble.
The case against Christensen started over 3 years ago when a task force of local, state, and federal officers raided his practice in Florence. Ravalli County Deputy Attorney Thorne Geist said that Christensen was overprescribing dangerous drugs and that he knew how dangerous those drugs were.
First, do no harm. It's one of the fundamental principles of medicine, and you will hear testimony in this case that when the defendant ignored that principle, when he began writing prescriptions for controlled substances outside the accepted course or the accepted standards of his professional practice, it was the medical professionals of this community and of this state who took action to protect his patients.
One by one, Geist detailed charges that are related to 11 of Christensen's former patients, 2 of whom are now dead from drug-related incidents. Christensen's attorney, Josh Vanderwettering, argued that the former doctor was not a criminal, but instead compassionate to a fault.
The one thing he doesn't do that the other doctors do is just not treat patients who need help. He is, in the words of his wife, who also testifies that she worked there, he is compassionate to a fault. But that's not a crime.
Late last week, prosecutors reduced the case from over 300 felonies to just under 24, including the 2 negligent homicide counts. Reporting in Hamilton, I'm Augusta McDonald for MTN News.
And that trial is expected to last until mid-November. And it was a season of fires, floods, and hurricanes this year, and through it all, one Missoula Red Cross volunteer was there. Tony Taylor was the only Red Cross volunteer from Montana who deployed to the scene of the Las Vegas massacre, a response where all of her years of experience were put to the test. Jill Valley has her story.
Moments after the shooting stopped the night of October 1st, the Red Cross knew it needed its best to help those hurt in the worst mass shooting in recent U.S. history. And that is how Missoula's Tony Taylor found herself in Las Vegas.
This was not where you could call up and say, hey, I want to go to Vegas. We were hand-selected by national headquarters to go on this operation.
Around her neck, the pins of the places she's been, from hurricanes in the south to floods in California, the fires here in Montana. But this was different.
You know, when it comes to a hurricane or a tornado or even a flood, you can rebuild. But what we saw in Las Vegas, we saw so many people who were shattered, so many people who lost loved ones.
And Tony heard story after story of the fear and the panic and the pain and suffering that extended beyond those concert grounds.
It was the people waiting on the street corner to get a bus that were caught in this mass pandemonium of people running and being trampled. It was people who were having dinner at Denny's. It was people who worked at the Mandalay who heard the shooting and didn't want to leave.
In Vegas, she helped the wounded find wheelchairs, crutches, specialized beds. She's a disability and integration specialist, among other things, which is something fairly new to the Red Cross.
Ideally, what we want is for disability integration to be in each state for when they have a disaster, whether it's a house fire or flooding, that they can go and get these things for these folks to replace it.
Tony is home now, finally, and she is ready for the next deployment, where her special brand of compassion, caring, and expertise will be on call again. But her Vegas experience is one that will stay with her.
My thought at the end of the day is, what could I have done better? Who could I have helped more? But I know that giving the operation over to the local chapter that the work that I did will continue, and that helps me get through the day, knowing that I helped those folks.
In Missoula, Jill Valley, MTN News.
And Tony says besides the medical, emotional, and spiritual support, the Red Cross helped the victims financially too. But she says they still need more volunteers in Montana. And coming up after the break, Russ will be back with your full work week forecast, and later a wrap up of your top national news headlines, including the latest on an attack that killed 4 U.S. soldiers in Niger, coming up on KAJ.